Hey, this is Bill Shoup, and I wanted to do a follow-up video here that shows the animated logo that we created previously and how we can export it to an animated GIF that we can use on the web or within a software project. So let's take a look at the logo we created before. We've got a night sky backdrop over behind text with some meteors that are flying through it. It's about 10 seconds long, and it's a bit larger than what we'll use. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to resize it. So we're going to create a new composition, and the original dimensions were, I think, 260 by 61, and then we're going to scale it up a little bit bigger, which comes out to be 300 by 70. And we're going to use a slower frame rate than the 24 frames per second we did before. I think 30 before. I did some experiments. I found that 16 is about as slow as what we want to go in order to still have it look good. But again, this depends on your own animation. A new comp called comp 4, and we're going to take comp 1, which is the animated logo, and drop it on there. And we'll find that the scale is way too big, so we're going to scale it way down. And let's move it into the comp there. We'll scale it up a little bit. Maybe 43 was what I used before, 43%. Maybe a little smaller than that. 41. Yeah, 33 looks about good. Okay. It's looking pretty good. We're going to do one other thing here. We want to make sure we turn on motion blur. For the comp and for that layer there. Make sure everything looks as smooth as possible since we're using this lower frame rate. And now we're ready to export. So let's go to Composition and Add to Render Queue. And under the output module, we actually want to change the channels to be RGB plus alpha. Otherwise, we won't get the alpha transparency. And we'll just use the default QuickTime animation. And then we're going to choose our output name. In this case, we'll call it Web 3. And we hit Render. And let's double check the output. And we're not seeing the transparency in this player, but we can see that the animation is happening there. Alright, so we're going to quit After Effects now that we're done with it. We'll go ahead and save it. Let's open up Photoshop. Now you can play it from here, but that's not really that helpful. So what we're going to do is we're going to go directly to the export and then save for Web Legacy. This is where we're going to do most of our experimenting to try to get a compromise between export size and the look and performance of it. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that we are set for GIF or GIF. And then we're going to use, in my case, I want to use 256 colors. You might be able to get away with less. One of the things we need to do here is we need to set the dither to none in order to use lossy, which will help us a little bit. And then we have to make sure transparency is checked and convert to sRGB. Now, I found that WebSnap doesn't really help a lot in saving size, but what you want to do is down here you want to pay attention to the size output, and then you can start experimenting with, if you make it 100% lossy, then you'll see you get the size down, but it doesn't look very good. And one of the nice things you can do here is you can hit preview and it'll actually write it out to a little temporary HTML file, and then you can actually see what it's going to look like. So this looks pretty bad. So in my experimenting, what I've found is that setting lossy to about 20% ends up being a nice compromise. So there's just a little bit, not really, you can't really see the noise, but you keep the size down a bit. And you can experiment with these. You can experiment with the, all of these types of the color reduction algorithm. You can, experiment a little bit with the quality, those types of things. But that's what we want to do, is keep experimenting here, and then check the preview and see what it's going to like before you bother to export it. And then one other thing that you want to, you can do some resizing here, but I prefer to do it in After Effects. The looping options, you want to set that likely to forever, unless you only want to do it once for some reason. So now that that's done, we can hit save and put it on the desktop, and we'll call it Web GIF 3, and that looks pretty good. Now this will open up in preview, which isn't very helpful. Let's open it with Safari, see what that looks like. There you go. All right, thanks for watching.